Review time! Reviews! From Raise the Moon. Too short. Please make a sequel that is also a bit longer. From Bloodstained Hitokuri. Beautiful. A rather strange point and click, but striking nonetheless. The art style was very different and in a good way, and I can see the love and effort you put into this game. Right. The story could have been a bit more fleshed out. I like the vague surrealism of it, but that didn't mean you can't give symbolism to things in order to allow us to relate. Unfortunately, I didn't understand most of what happened between his heart getting stolen and him getting it back. My two favorite moments were when you could use the arrow keys, a refreshing break from all the clicking, and when the main character, or is there even one, stole that guy's eye. Overall, I think it's pretty good. You might want to distinguish yourself from the Limbo style, though. From, Sweetheart9989.
I love this game. It's so amazing. I love how everything is in black and the background is colored black. And I'm not sure if they did this intentionally, but it made me think about how everything else was bright. But the person may be thinking is dark. And I also love how you become a ghost, saying he's like a vacant soul waiting for his heart.
People think this is a useless review. I agree. From GoTanks-3000. Poor man's Limbo. Even though this point and click in Limbo is a platformer, I just got the vibe while playing. Score 4. From MadMage8816. I found the score to be quite captivating. Score 9. People think this is a useless review. From Oreos. A hooking game. The game's art style is wonderful. The world you and your characters are immersed with is impressive. And the storyline was good for a Flash game. It's good that the story is left up to your own interpretation. Yes, it's a little confusing, but so are a lot of good movies and stories like Inception. The puzzles were alright, but the setting and odd storyline compensated. For the Monkey Boy 6689. It needs, well, a lot. I'm including a few minor spoilers in this review, but there isn't much to spoil, as in or out of context, they make little sense. I dig the art style and the atmosphere, and the music really seemed to suit it well. But as I played on, I realized the puzzles' design were, well, lacking. There was little to no intuition involved, and the things that did seem to rely on reason to figure out didn't really work that way. I would have logically expected them to. Case in point, to move the hands on the clocks, I had to move my mouse straight up rather than in a clockwise fashion. Come on, people, it's called clockwise for a reason. Other than that, it was mostly just a lot of random clicking with a few hints here and there that helped with experimentation. A bit. But usually after I figured them out, I found myself saying, "What the? Why?" Rather than, "Oh, duh, how did I not figure that out sooner?" During the story progression, I hope to glean some deep symbolism or insight on the human condition, and the potential was certainly there. However, if symbolism was intended, it was far too vague and ill-explained for me to grasp. And it was overshadowed by the random acts of seemingly senseless violence, and the overall bizarreness that ensued. All of that arrived at a conclusion that was just as confusing and seemingly meaningless as the rest of the game. All in all, for a front page, it seems like a letdown. Next time, I think a storyboard might help, and maybe an overall message or moral. Or at least some kind of story, for that matter. There's that potential to make me think. However, it missed the mark. People find this review helpful! I agree. From Corn Pops! With a Minecraft symbol picture nonetheless. The guy below me's full of it. This game was great. I loved the little guy, and I was attached to him from the beginning. If you're open-minded, even in the slightest, there's a story to this game. It is left open for interpretation, which is really cool. I think the reason the dude's soul can leave his body is because his heart was stolen. So it's not talking about the heart. He needs to pump blood. It's talking about his heart and its soul. So when he loses his heart, he essentially is hollow inside, without love and life. so he can leave his body whenever he wants. People find this useless! Interesting. This will be... From Nataria. Warning, I do think about the story later in this review, so I don't want anything to be spoiled if you don't read past the third paragraph. Thank you. I'm in the habit of playing any games that end up on the front page, since they tend to be very good. Or sometimes they're not my taste. However, I'm not really sure this game made it. I know it's a rather mean thing to say, so I'll explain why. While very animated, even the art style itself is quite simplistic. This is nothing more than a point and click, and not even a good one. One point and puzzle involved timing on my part, and most of the puzzles involve just a few steps. Click a character, click something else to move, characters go sorting, goes on them, click that character, click your character again, and go on to the next puzzle, so you can do that all over again. The puzzles themselves are very unintuitive most of the time, and involving random clicking in hopes of moving forward. The worst example being what I call the glowing mushroom puzzle, in which you basically click a black screen until the mushroom light thing, and the others light up, letting you repeat the process twice more. This is not what I call fun. But really, I would have minded if any of these games had actually made the slightest amount of sense. Now, I know the first games are relatively short. This can be bogged down with a lot of exposition, but not telling the player anything is just not good storytelling. I mean, sure, dude got his heart stolen, so we can assume that he wants it back. So we have motivation here. But the questions just start to pile up after that. I mean, how the heck did he survive getting his heart torn out? Why did the weird dinosaur lizard monster thing steal his heart? Why does the player go right, the direction away from where his heart was stolen, and the lizard dinosaur monster that was last seen, and yet still somehow find him in the end? Why can the player move their soulless spirit, or whatever, take possession of other animals? Why the hell does the clock melt at 3 o'clock? Shouldn't it be melted a long time ago if it was like that? And where does the huge-ass dinosaur come from? And most importantly, why do you keep tricking us into killing people, Game Maker? That is the biggest question I have. And since I realized something while writing this review, during the only puzzle that involved timing, you have to kick a rock, which wakes up this little ghost thing, and then send your spirit to possess another stick person so you can make them shake their cage, before the ghost thing goes back to sleep. Now, being the apparently innocent person that I am, I thought that the ghost thing would free the person, and that's the person would maybe catch the player as he jumped off a little cliff. But no! The ghost thing eats the person, then disappears! At which point, the player casually jumps onto the top of the dangling cage to use it as a stepping stone to jump down to the ground. Something that could have been done while that person was still alive! Meaning that my adorable little player stick just murdered someone to get rid of the monster thing. Suddenly, I don't feel so bad as he ends up getting speared by a presumably metal pole a few seconds later. The trippy inverted sequence that follows raises waves of too many questions that I don't have the inclination to ask. To make matters worse, you commit another murder later on, which has removed any sympathy I had for the character. It's just a blatant murder rather than for the first possibly an accident. Now, you can make an argument that your character only does these things because, well, he's heartless. Now, I honestly don't give a damn. Honestly, nothing is explained. You just kill people. Perhaps if I ever knew what the hell was going on, I might have some sympathy, but as it stands out, it's just a well-animated, confusing mess of a story, if it can be called that. TL semicolon IR. The animation was pretty, the story and the gameplay sucked. People are fighting, oh, how helpful this review is. I kind of like it. Definitely pictures out what I wanted to say. From Zip Zappo 46. I don't know what to say. It's just odd. From Bobsum. Nope. Not a very good game. Just clicking all over the screen until something happens with a pseudo message at the end. From, why do people do this? From X's at the beginning, Lawn 3, Hunt 3, R, 13, X's at the end. It wasn't bad, but I'll tell you what it was. Depressing. From Johnny Sedona. Great atmosphere and and animation, but this was a very pretty game. The animation was flawless, and the game, however, rose all the way to the typical click every pixel mechanic that so many point-and-click games rely on. More feedback for the puzzles would have made things less frustrating. Clicking around a black screen until I hit the right spot wasn't fun. It's annoying, and the early puzzles well felt and developed, but after the clock things, it just started going downhill. I would have enjoyed it just as much if it was just a straight animation. From Singular Crime. Gorgeous. This game is so gorgeous in its simplicity, which includes the artwork and the music. My only issue is that the mechanics on the clock are a bit frustrating. Other than that, fabulous game. From Link Leet. I can read Leet. Strange, but good. I love the warped, twisted feel of this game, and hope to see more like it. Oh dear, here we go. For the Impartial Cameraman. Visual atmosphere feels so perfect. Although I can't see the whole reminds me of Limbo thing, it's just different to stand out on its own. The introduction, however, was almost too jarring. With the first click of what is the obvious click? First you're thrown into the deep end, and then silence. It's almost like the game ends there, and then the player has done something wrong. Placed later in the game, and this might have been more okay, but it's too obtrusive too quickly. The lack of sound effects is too obvious as well. While limited sound could have added bringing the player into the world, you have a ding sound effect with a highlighting the X in the instructions menu, but you don't have sound effects for walking, most objects falling on the ground, creatures blowing a hole in the wall and attacking. And again, it doesn't draw the player into the world. It just serves to point out that you're really not experiencing what's happening. And finally, the story doesn't really build or go anywhere. Going back into the intro is a very pedal-to-the-floor moment that gears you up to the game. But then it just gets slow and confusing. The big moments appear, yes, but only a few seconds, and then diminish back into the slow pace again. It's like a cheap scare in a horror movie. Yes, it'll likely make you open your eyes and try to prepare for the next time, but without an ever-increasing risk that it might be at stake, it doesn't amount to anything. Additionally, I don't fully understand the black and white section, or why it even had to do that part. The character taking such brutal actions on his own accord also confuses and further detaches the player from the character. After the boat scene, I don't even want to play anymore because the character just wasn't me. If I chose the evil side in an RPG, that's acceptable for me because I chose to commit dark deeds. For my character to do that on his own, me think I was never the character at all. The ending is also very sudden and confusing. I'm all for the ending and even a story that makes you think and derive a own meaning from it. Watching too many films during my own film degrees and right word of this nature. But it just doesn't flow well. It sort of ends before it begins. It didn't have all the breaks. It just went from one action to the next, free from the pauses of the player trying to solve the whole what's it click and play thing. Next time might work better. It wouldn't make up for everything, but it would help. If it doesn't help, then that's not clear how you can click or when a cutscene is still playing out. The other main thing that detracts it is that it's not always obvious what you have to do. In the screen where you capture, I clicked all the things that I was stuck in, and then everywhere else on the screen, though, there was nothing. And that I would normally, or not normally, click on. And then when that didn't work, I would turn to the thing holding me, and surprising, I was free! Maybe the invisible box click on wasn't big enough in this case, but it was another moment where I felt like things had paused to no avail. To anyone, including the game's creator, that has made this far down, I apologize for making you read so much. Actually, why did you read all this? Maybe this is made for the compelling read that you wanted to see, and what drives someone else to write so much. Whatever the case, despite my poor score for the game, I don't hate it. It just feels ultimately unfinished. To the game's creator, I hope you continue to refine your art of creating games with compelling narrative. This game truly interested me from the beginning and the end, and I tried to ignore its flaws, hoping it would lead me to a compelling journey and a beautiful ending. And while this particular game didn't achieve this with me, I'm sure I'll remember it and draw ideas of it from. Actually, it already has in form of a possible idea of a short film. I'm not sure if I'll ever make it, but the idea's there, and you inspired me, so thank you. In that way alone, I see this game as inspirational. I'll give it to him on that one. From Vestos. Beautiful. After I played the game, I felt a sudden sadness. People do the same to the character, don't they? I'm not sure if this is the meaning you were trying to convey, but it's truly beautiful. From Kid Ahoya. Good. But do you really think really abstractly to play this? Maybe simplify things a little. From Neo Childs. Reminds me of Limbo. Very similar to Limbo, but it has its own twist and way of doing things similar. Love this game and its art direction. It's awesome along with the play mechanics. Yeah, right. From Antonio 140. This doesn't have a quality box. The game is great. It gets slow on my computer. From Clavat. Ooh. Spooky stuff, man. From Alex and Rigos. Medium. Nice puzzle, kinda easy, really laggy, but no story. I finished because of what I've read on the comments below. Spoiler alert! Let's see, you're in a strange world and strange creatures take your heart off and go away with it. You're heartless. That's why you let the cage guy die and you kill the boatman. And you want your heart back at any cost. Then you find that creature on a cliff, teasing heartless men on the other side while holding a heart. These men jump at it to get the heart and fall off the cliff to their death. You, yay, are on the same side as the creature to get your heart back. And falls. Question mark. Let's suppose I've understood. What's that white? I guess it's your soul part? From Slouching Poet. Haunting. Very haunting and satisfying. Just challenging enough? I got the mid-game lag too. It seemed to be clear up after the first boat part. My only real complaint would be that I wish it had been longer. I'd definitely like to see a sequel. From Osmandius86. I really enjoyed the game. I didn't appear to have the severe lag that everyone else is dealing with. I only wish it was a bit longer. And the story was explained more. Still, really fun game. From Metal Gear for Life. Nice! Kosier 100? I think it's because when you spam click, everything I click more than like 1 to 4 times, the game started to lag, and so I suppose every click counts as an action to the programming, which will lead to massive FPS drops like the 30-50 actions that are on at the same time. Otherwise, the game was nice and well done, but the storyline was not, however. I guess it's something about losing your heart and wandering through the darkness and forever in its long search of it, even though you might drag some people down with you. The story was too hasty to even understand. And with the right towards the end when I can really understand and what happened and what I was doing afterwards, but still, this is not something which would affect your grade, because it was still creative. Good work, man. I hope to see some more like this. From Ripsaw. Fun, nice story, a bit lax on the ending. I have an i7 and I'm getting lag, but it's only really noticeable at the boat part. You need to take people's different computers into consideration. Very nice game. Could have had used more instructions, and I sat there for 2 minutes clicking and nothing was going on. And I was about to rage quit. Lol. Kosier 100. Laggy. It's quite nice, but sad, very laggy. I have a Pentium dual-core 266 Hz GeForce computer crud, and 4 gigabytes of RAM, and it lags in Firefox and Internet Explorer. I've got the newest drivers in Windows 7 X4, and games work very good on this machine. from History. Amazing! I love dark games like this. People find this review helpful. Are they drunk? From Proto Sax. Nice game, but, well, I do have a lot of lag, but my computer's trash, so maybe that's because there's no low quality feature. And it seems I wouldn't be able to finish the game with this lag, so maybe I'll try again in a cafe or something. Also, really didn't like the part about killing the boat dude. That wasn't called for. All other things were so far great. From Ninja Code 90. Alright, it's good, but I can't get past the second level. From Mar XX1.
Sean.
What?
Can you seriously go to bed?
Yeah.
You're like talking to yourself.
Hmm?
You're talking to yourself.
I do that a lot. It's called practicing.
You're talking into a microphone.
Yep.
To hear yourself.
No. Practicing. Different voices.
Okay, well, can you call it a night? It's 2 in the morning.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's 12.
It's like 1:50 in the morning, Sean.
It's 12.